Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, we kind of sort of missed the big one, I think. I'm knocking on wood again, but according to what's happened and what they're saying is still yet to come, I think the worst of it is probably over in the sense of an ice storm. We still have snow moving in. But I don't think it's going to be anything significant enough to disrupt things too much. I mean, we do have, you can see, we've got a lot of ice on tree limbs, probably 1/4 inch. Definitely we've had some trees down, had to clear some roadways, and heard some reports of that, but I've not had any reports of power outages right here locally or any other problems. But you know, it's been a bit of stuff coming down, a little bit of a lull right now, and like I said, weather's showing that here in another hour or so we'll probably start getting snowfall and then have that falling throughout the evening. This is time for us to shine. This is what us preppers live for, right? Is for when the weather is just gonna get bad, or maybe it's something's just almost gonna happen, and we've got to go into action so that we can survive it, right? Even though it's certainly nothing any more abnormal than what we would normally have with a winter storm. It's just, this is just kind of normal for this time of the year to have a storm like this, but it's still something that we should, prepare for, react to properly. But the big thing is to always reflect and to see what you've done that you could have done differently, that you did successfully, things that you could have had. In fact, this morning, after I went out and did a few things, I sat down and that's what I started doing. I started writing down what could I have done differently. What is it that myself, my team, my department, what is it that we need or that we should have done that would have made this an even better experience and an easier experience. And so always when stuff like this happens, I've said this for years on here, you've probably heard me say it several times, is always look at every disaster as a learning experience. As you're going through it, hopefully, prayerfully, it's not so devastating that it's, loss of life or something like that, but as you're going through it, learn from it. And even if you aren't going through it, look at regions around you. If where you're at the weather isn't too bad, but maybe north of you or south of you or somewhere else in the country it is, maybe a hurricane hits someplace and you're not anywhere near it, observe what's going on and the reaction to it, so that you can have a better handle on how to deal with disasters in your area. Whether it's natural disasters or it's some kind of man-made something, man-caused event. And so, again, here we are at a place that we need to be doing that. We've watched over the last several days as people online seem to kind of lose their mind, getting crazy. I just moments ago saw a post that Washington D.C. is going to get the worst storm that they've had in forever, and maybe it's going to be a significant snowfall, but is it the worst ever? Probably not. I think I don't know if it is a purposeful, directed, orchestrated phenomena, or it's just something that is a kind of a secondary effect of it. But it seems to me that the more and more people are online and engaged and really engulfed in social media, it's almost like our memory span becomes shorter and shorter. And it's like we can't remember that just a few years ago maybe, that area or this area experienced weather or an event or something that was equally as bad, if not worse. And people are acting like, this is the end of the world because, 6 inches fell or because 10 inches fell. I don't understand it. It's crazy. I can remember many times growing up in this area where I live, in this region, of of snowfalls well over 10 inches, of ice storms that would just knock the whole area out for days, if not weeks at a time. And yet when something like this happens, people tend to just kind of lose it. Anyways, the point is that whether it's something like a storm, or it's something like a pandemic, or economic problems, war, whatever it is, take note and be watching of how the people and how the government reacts to it, because I suspect, whether, like I said, whether it's orchestrated or it's just a natural, strange phenomenon, this hype, this building up of hype to a dramatic, behavior, it's just going to get worse. And I've seen so many people over the last few years, and I'm going to use this as an example with COVID, because of how COVID was handled, what actually happened, all the stuff. I don't have to detail it out. You guys know, you lived through it too. And so many people have said, yeah, well, the next time something like this happens, people are just going to ignore it. People are going to know. They're going to see through it. They're going to know, and they're going to, you're not going to be able to fool me a second time. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, not going to happen, right? You watch and see. People will be fooled. I have no faith and confidence in people in general that they're not going to fall right for the same thing again. And so, looking at things like the bird flu, I saw something, I think it was 130 million is the number that they're throwing out there. Maybe it's maybe more than that, but it's hundreds of millions basically of birds have died, they're saying, because of the bird flu. Well, I mean, the truth is there may be just a few that's died. The vast majority of them have been euthanized. But again, people are already starting to react to it. And that and other things that are flying around, because guess what? It's just that time of the year. It's a time of the year where people just become more sick, easily susceptible to illnesses. Why? Well, you're not out in the sun as much. I mean, the sun is probably the number one biggest thing that you can have to improve your health and your immune system and everything else. Well, there's less of it. You're out in it less because the temperature, because of the weather, so you're getting less sun. And that's why you should probably take some D3, especially during the winter. But that's one thing. You're inside more, so you're passing things around. Immune system's a little bit less. All of that. This is just the time of the year for people to get sick. It's been that way forever. Everyone knows that. But yet now, when there's a uptick in some kind of illness spreading around, people start to panic. It's going to be that way for everything, I suspect. When it hits to be when it's going to be the economy, stock market or something, I think that an economic collapse, a stock market crash, will probably be worse than anything ever seen, because people will panic. And I've come to believe that probably the biggest thing that we need to be prepared for is the panic. Not so much what the government does or whatever it is. Yes, those things are important. Yes, we need to pay attention to them, and we need to prepare for the various types of events that could happen. But honestly, I think the biggest thing we have to prepare for is just the people. People have short memory spans. It's almost like the IQ in general is just getting less and less. People have no reasoning skills. They don't think with any level of logic. And I'm speaking in mass and in general terms. And people act crazy. And myself, and I've heard other people online say the same thing, that the biggest threat that you will face during an SHTF is people. People behaving badly. People losing their minds, people overreacting to something, people following whatever like cattle, like a bunch of lemmings off the cliff, turning on each other. That's going to be the biggest threat. And so while you make your preparations, while you examine things like this snowstorm, winter storm that's going through parts of the country and trying to figure out what you can learn from it, always please remember that the biggest threat that you're going to face is from people. And people just losing their minds and behaving badly. And honestly, if you can get through that, you'll probably fare pretty good. So that's your lesson for today. Prepare for people being crazy. Wow, there you go. For those of you that are experiencing much worse weather than us, I hope that you do fine and hope that you've prepared for it well, because there are areas just barely north of us. I've heard several reports, and when I say barely, I'm saying just a few miles north of our area. It seems to be a little bit worse. We're just kind of right on that edge where the temperature, we had plenty of precipitation, but the temperature was just like a degree or two warmer to keep it from really, really building up bad. I guess we were fortunate and blessed in that way. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.